This is a really important day because today we are launching Forbidden Road. It's been a huge and very intense journey with a lot of ups and downs, and it's still happening like right now. Everything that can go wrong does go wrong. Actually, no. I am very thankful for everything that goes right, but there are a couple of things that still need fixing, and thankfully the book itself is out and everything's fine there. And if you get it during launch week, you can get your free fantasy calendars. It's all on evanswitches.com. So today I'm going to talk a little bit more about the inspiration behind Forbidden Road. There's an excerpt that I'll be reading for you, and we have raw vegan pigs and blankets. Forbidden Road actually began when I saw Princess Bride, and what I really loved is that it's a twist on the cliche kidnapping story. It's not at all the kind of Stockholm Syndrome thing. They're meant to be together, they actually knew each other before. And when Wesley takes Buttercup, it's to save her life. And it's not all nicey-nicey, they fight, and it's kind of bubbly. So Kim and Seth meet in college. They are students in Oxford at Christ Church College. And in the book we see the parallel timelines. So we actually start with the prologue when she wakes up in 500 AD and nobody understands what she's saying. And she sees the fairies around her and she thinks she's in Ireland, and they're going, Ireland? What? And she's like, what? Where can you possibly be that people don't know about Ireland or when? And she's essentially in northern Scotland, part of the kingdom of Dalriada, the kingdom of Fergus Mór. And she immediately loses the memories of who she was, and she only regains them through the magic once she and Seth get reunited. And that is quite feisty. And when they meet in college, they also don't get along. When they first meet, they have a fight, and then they kind of meet again, and again it's kind of tense, and it's kind of a tough love. But then very quickly they realize that it's quite deep, and it's kind of the cute boy meet girl story, college romance, and the willingness to go take that huge risk together and take a journey that eventually ends at 500 AD. And we see them meet again when Seth is one of Fergus Mór's knights. He's injured, so he can no longer serve as knight, so he is serving as a fencing teacher to the first knight, Niall. And they're visiting King Aidan, who's Kim's father. He's told that she's his daughter, his long-lost daughter, and she is now a princess about to be married to Fergus Mór's son. And they discover that there's been a conspiracy against the king. And then there's the kidnapping in the night. And I can promise you that after that scene, which I'm about to read to you, there's also a lot of fighting and not getting along, and also a bit of the twist. Kim has a Dan-2 karate black belt, which is also something she forgot, but then she has the maneuvers in her. I loved writing her because she's like sweet and beautiful and warm-hearted, but don't get on her wrong side. So yeah, I'm about to read you that excerpt, and I hope you enjoyed the book. It's out now, and you can get it on evanswitches.com.
There was a hand on her face. There are two of us, and we're both armed. It was Seth. She recognized his voice. His touch on her face was surprisingly soft, as though he didn't want to hurt her. Can you hear me? Nod so I know. Her head felt heavy, but she managed to do it, and then suddenly, it was as though a surge of power came over her, and her body stilled. Her pulse became cool and strong again. All the heaviness and the fear were gone. Get up quietly. She could move now, easily. She sat in bed and then turned to the side, getting up and taking a step forward. Seth slipped behind her. He put his hand on her waist. Suddenly, and without thinking, she caught it and swiftly twisted it, taking him off balance. He was quicker than her, countering her move. A sharp metal object was on her throat. Nice try. Still, she had surprised herself with that maneuver. She'd never done anything like it before. It had always seemed impossible when she saw the knights performing it in unarmed training. The move was faster than theirs, and different in style. If you cooperate, you'll have nothing to worry about. We honestly don't want to hurt you. He meant it. There was sincerity in his voice. If that was indeed the case, why was he there? What do you want? Why are you doing this, Seth? There was a moment of silence. She couldn't see the other person with him, but she could easily guess that it was Niall, and that a non-verbal message had passed between the two men. She had made them aware that she knew their identity. We need to get back to our court, and we have to take you with us. It's all you need to know. We'll keep you safe. For now, we need you to lead us to the stables. Or I can just scream for my guards right now. Scream, and your father dies. It was Niall's voice. He pulled out a small golden object that shined in the dark. You know what this is? It looked like a compact mirror. But when Niall opened the lid, instead of her reflection, she saw her father's room with the king asleep in his bed. She heard herself gasp. A magic stinger. They were rare. Through the mirror-shaped object, Niall controlled a poison dart. He must have flown it into the king's room through the window. One word, and it would kill her father. Now, Niall said, closing the lid. Is there another door out of this room, or do we take you out the window? He was overdoing it. There was no need for further threats. Seth's kinder approach was far more intimidating. He meant every word, so it was clear that any danger coming from him was real, no more and no less than he said. She considered her position. It reminded her of a story her father had once told her of Fergus Moore that spoke of a similar situation. His course of action then was to cooperate in order to save his people from a battle. She would be saving her father. I'll lead you out then, she said. I know we all stand a better chance of getting out of this without a scratch that way. She put her hand on Seth's and pulled it away from her neck slowly. He understood, complied, trusted her words. She turned to him. But, in return, I expect no harm from either of you. You have my word, Seth replied. He said my, not our. There's a closet behind Niall. She deliberately said his name. I've got a warm coat there. That's also where you'll find the way out. There were noises as Niall went to check the closet and inspect the coat. He must have tried to look for any sharp objects she could use. Clear, he said. I'll lead the way. Seth took the coat and handed it to her. Then he helped her find her footing in the dark, and they descended a small spiral staircase that started behind her wardrobe. They walked slowly and silently, reaching the bottom floor and then heading towards the stables. Once there, Niall surveyed the hall. He found the night guard asleep and hit him on the head from behind. Kim's heart missed a beat. There was no need for him to do that. She could have easily talked her way through. He picked up their saddles and walked to the horses. Seth motioned her to join him as he prepared his own horse. When they were ready, Niall pulled out a sword and walked to the door. Stop, she heard herself say. Niall turned. My father's men obey me. I can get you out of the castle without violence, but only if you do your part and not hurt anyone else. He sniffed. What exactly do you propose? His tone was condescending, still trying to assert power, though there was no need. She knew that she had caught him by surprise. She too wondered at the authority in her own voice. Her whole behavior was strange to her. Instead of freezing in fear and closing down, she was cool-minded, choosing what she said, knowing that every word and the tone in which she uttered them mattered. She had to be strong. She was defending her father. She'd never thought that could give her so much confidence. She turned to Seth. There's a hidden passage that goes under the wall and moat, large enough for a horse. There are usually 2 guards, one at each side, but they have ways of alerting others. The tunnel ends in the woods, near a large waterfall. I find it difficult to tell if she's speaking the truth, said Niall, his fists clenching in anger. She is. Seth's voice was calm, confident. Let's go. Why was he so much easier to speak with than Niall? Far less brutal. What was his role compared to Niall's? He was clearly no squire. They behaved like equals, and sometimes he even took the lead. She'd have to figure this out soon, and use it. Once again she was surprised at her own thoughts. She led them to the passage, stopping by the first guard, and he saluted her immediately. Your Highness, these men are Fergus Moore's knights. I'm aware. My father ordered a code silver tonight. There's been a threat on my life. 2 of my maids will follow in a few minutes, to chaperone. I have to check this with no time, trust me. My father would praise you for letting us through quickly. Every moment matters. He hesitated, observing them. Where's your horse? Waiting on the other side, said Seth. Her safe escape has already been arranged. The guard looked at him with recognition, with trust. If you say so, sir. Just be sure to keep her safe. How did they know each other? Was this planned? It couldn't have been. Seth must have been to her father's court before, prior to her own arrival. You shouldn't have told him that your maids are following, Niall said once they'd put a distance between them and the guards. He wouldn't have believed it otherwise, she said coldly. Besides, pretty soon someone will figure out that I'm gone. They had a similar conversation with the guard on the other side. Again she noticed that he recognized Seth. Niall got on his horse. Seth was preparing his to help her mount. I'm not going any further. Not until you tell me what's going on, she said. Oh, really? Said Niall, pulling out the stinger. You'll come willingly or not. You're lucky you don't have any broken bones yet. Clearly, his knightly conduct didn't extend beyond the halls of court. Seth seemed the opposite. Your dart will be discovered by morning, and then what will you do? I'm the crown princess in waiting, and not only that, my father has every knight in the area working for him. You can force me on that horse, but there'll be people catching up with you. The birds will be out with the message faster than you can ride. He laughed. We should have knocked you unconscious. She kept her wits. But you need me alive, clearly. And you couldn't guarantee that I would survive if you got into a fight. Not if it was against even half of the knights who are my father's guests tonight. So tell me, why do you need me? Seth looked at her. His face in the moonlight showed that he was deeply impressed. There's been a conspiracy around your marriage, he said without hesitation. Niall seemed shocked. We're not sure about the details, and the only way for us to save the king is to take you with us. What? A conspiracy against Fergus Moore? How is her marriage related? Does this involve Prince Domengard? Seth winced when she uttered the prince's name. And you need me to prevent it? Without me this conspiracy can't happen? Did she have leverage? It still can, but your absence would send a message, an alert that the plan had been discovered. And having you with us will deter knights from attacking who might fear for your safety. There was something else, something he wasn't saying. He walked to her cautiously. I don't want to do this by force. You've been fair, but I need to take you with me. I'm sorry, Kim. His calmness and his warm voice were terrifying because in that moment she knew that Seth was far more dangerous than he seemed. He was kind because he could afford to be. It was suddenly evident to her that Seth never needed her compliance in the first place. She had no leverage, and yet something about her made her feel complete trust. It wasn't his behavior towards her.